Hi and welcome to Clickteam, and today we're going to be doing a bit of tidy up, which we always do on a Friday. The first thing we need to do is make the dialog box responsive, so that if we've got full screen it still works fine, it doesn't have an issue. I might keep the string length the same, so that I can have a nice kind of overall look about how it's going to show up on screen, but I'll extend the border so it's not just sitting there in the middle. We'll see what that looks like. And we're going to tidy up a few other bits about our code to make sure that it's kind of future proof, because at the moment the shift button just shifts onto the next one and doesn't really care, so we might have a look at that and look at extending that next week. So lots to do, let's get started. So open up the same files we have always, and we've got a nice little scrolling kind of text. If I press shift it then moves on to the next one, same thing as before, but if I make it full screen, if I click the right thing, there we are, it doesn't extend to the whole width, and the player kind of gets hidden underneath, so it's in the wrong place. We just need to sort that out. So if I double click on it and go into the event editor, and we want to have a look at not scrolling in the dialog box, and what we want to say is always, and probably move this to the top, so this is quite important, and we always want the position of this. Let's do the width first. So this is a little bit more complicated because you can't just set the width. Unfortunately, you can just set the X and the Y, but you can't set the width of active, so you need to work stuff out, which is really annoying. But if we go into the frame editor, sometimes it's easier kind of making it a nice simple simple dimensions. So 100 by 100 is a nice one. Always check the hotspot. So where's the hotspot on this? It's at the top left, which is what we did before, which is great. Okay. Now, here comes the fun. So set scale. So I want to set the X and the Y scale separately. So I'm only interested in the horizontal scale because actually I want it to be 100 tool anyway, so that's not a problem. And we've set that to 100. Did we set it to 100? Let's just have a look. Hang on. Just get out of that. It looked a bit thin for 100. Oh, did I set it to 10? I set it to 10. We could put that to 100. I don't mind that being 100. Makes a nice square. Right. So let's go back into that. So 1 would be 100. So 1 is 100 pixels, and we know that we can get the client width. Where is it? Application window, horizontal size of client area. So that's the desired one. So if you just think through the maths here, if it's 200 wide, the client area, so the frame window, we wanted the answer to this to be 2, because it's going to be twice as big as 100. So what do we do with 200 and 100 to make 2? Well, we divide it. Simple as that. Okay, put 0.0 to make sure it's decimal, make sure it works nicely, and it's that simple. So if I kept it at the same width before, I could just put whatever it was, 760 or whatever it was there. It's just sometimes easier working hundreds. Let's click OK, and we don't mind, maximum speed's fine because it's just one colour, so Clickteam won't have a problem with that. Let's just run the application, and there we go. So it's the correct width there. Now you never know whether it's the correct width. It could be miles too big, but miles too big is not a problem for us. Let's sort out the position. Now the X position, I don't mind because it's always going to be 0 because it's on the left hand side. So the X position's fine. It's the Y position. So what we want to do is have a look at the client area, and we want vertical size of the client area. And it's 100 tools, so it's just going to be take away 100, but we might change the height of it perhaps down the line. So I just want the height of it. Now at the moment that's 100. And let's just click run, see if that's working fine. Now this is the interesting bit. Okay, so it worked absolutely fine, but it's now not scrolling with the frame because it's constantly locking it to the client area there, so that's not good. So what we want to do is add on the top of the screen. So where is it? Frame window. Could be, actually it could be in one of these ones. This one here. So you want Y coordinate of top visible edge. So what that does is that bit there is the Y coordinate at the top of your current view. So at the start it's 0, but if you scroll the character down and start moving the screen down, that will increase. So we're just adding that bit onto it. Let's just run that. And it works perfectly. If I double click, works perfectly. Now the last little bit for us to sort out is the text, and actually that's really easy because what we do is just hook that into shall we hook it? I don't think we should hook that into the active, because what you can do is you can set the position, and what you do is you click on there and just let's have a look. It's there. Okay, what you do is you click on the active and move it over here. So it's always going to be there related to the active, and that would work fine. So if I double click, it works nicely, but the text then would finish here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back into the text file, and I'm just going to make the text a lot longer. So the easiest way of doing that is just copy and paste. So let's make this text really long. Okay, and let's close that down, and let's run it now. Looks good. Double click on it. Now notice that it stops there, and that's quite odd that it would stop there. What we want to do is have it in the middle. I don't want to change the width of it because actually I'll be styling this nicely and making it like fit perfectly on the screen. So I don't want to change the width of it, but I do want it to be nicer. So let's have a look. So I'm going to copy that because actually we'll use that, and we're going to use the position, the Y coordinate. Okay, so let's run that now. And so the Y coordinate would be good. And now we need to work out the X coordinate, which is not going to be easy. I probably want to move, do I want to move that down a bit? So we might want to move it down, so I might add 10 to it. Let's just see where it is on the frame now. So the active is at 440 and the text is at 446. So I wanted to add 6 to it. So add 6 to it, so it's not right at the top of the active. So we want to find out where the Y position is going to be, and it just needs a bit of maths really. So we need the width of that, and we need to shift it along so it centers it in the screen. Now I'm not 100% sure there is a center in screen, but we shall look for it. So yeah, we can't really center it in the screen, unfortunately. I don't remember ever there. Yeah, so there's not one. So we're going to have to use a bit of maths. So we want to set the X coordinate, right? So what we want is the X coordinate of the frame, so the left hand side of the frame. So if we've scrolled, that will, at the start that's 0, but if we scroll that will just increase depending on how much of the level there is on the left hand side, which you can't see anymore. So let's have a think about the maths. So something else we'll need is the client width, horizontal size of the client width. Okay, so I'm just putting add there for now whilst I try and work it out. So we don't need to worry about the X left of frame, that will just sort out that issue of scrolling. This is the bit we're trying to work out, and we also need the width of the string. So I don't know if you can get that easily. Oh, you can, good. Okay, so if that is, let's just pick some easy numbers, and let's just, okay. So if the client width is 1000 and the string is 100, what would have to be on the left hand side for it to be centered? So that would be 900 left over of space, and you'd want 450 of it on the left and 450 of it on the right. Okay, so just think through the maths. What we've done is we've taken them away, so 1000 take away 100, and then what we've done is we've divided it by 2. That's the maths of it. Okay, so that's the bit we want to work out. So the client width, what we want to do is we want to take away the width of the string, and then we want to divide it by 2, but we probably want some decimal in there so it works nicer. Okay, does that work? Let's have a think just logically. Client width would be 1000. The width of the string is 100, so 1000 take away 100 is 900. Divided by 2 is 450. So if you had 450 on the left hand side, you'd be laughing. So that's the maths of it. Let's see whether it actually comes to fruition. Well, that looks pretty darn perfect. And let's just check. Yeah, that's about center. And let's just check the scrolling works. Perfect. Let's just check the X scrolling works. So I'm just going to move to the right. That works perfectly. Press Shift, insert the new code there. And that's nice and centered, and it's always going to be centered. The only issue is if we get smaller than the startup width. But this is something that you, as I said when we did the videos on responsiveness, you have to just decide what's the smallest monitor that you're going to support. And I've decided early on that the size of it now is the smallest monitor that I'm going to have my game work on. Otherwise you just get silly. You go, oh, I want my game to work on everything, and it's like, really? That size there? Like, it's never going to work on a screen that size. So there has to always be a minimum, but always make sure that you don't have a maximum, because as monitors get bigger and more densely packed and all that stuff, you want your game to always work. And yeah, looks really, really good. I think I'm going to stop there for now, because this video is already longer than I thought it would be. But I think we've got a lot more to do with our dialog box. So we might do that next week, or we might do that in a future week, but we definitely will come back to this. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 7 PM UK time. Thank you.